Let's try to set the rest of this up.
Where are you located, Sophie?
Just outside of Phoenix.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, let's see.
Yeah, where are you at?
Temperature here is 16.
Oh, that's fireplace weather. I want that. I miss it.
Oh, I have to.
Like
Wow.
I keep forgetting
42 years in the desert.
Forgetting to have a weight room.
Oh, I see you got more dots. Who's here? Hussein? Oh, Kim. I don't know Sarah.
Hello,
And
everybody.
actually, Bill, I don't know you. How? Who dat?
It's Kim.
I'm a friend of Matt Barlow.
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Hi.
Oh, you got a library behind you, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you said you were interested in screenwriting a little bit. You had an interest.
Yes. Yeah, I've got my screenwriting section here somewhere. It's
Well, we got a.
You got all the screenwriting section you need right here in this Zoom.
I gotta write that down. That's good. You got all the.
Yeah. How do you know Matt?
I used to work with him. I was the his band that he was in, Iced Earth. I was their global publicity director for a number of years. So I worked with Matt on and off for a while. Yeah, I've probably known him, I don't know, 10 years, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a good guy. He said his son's interested, so I invited him to the one I did one a couple months ago with Steven D'Souza, the writer of Die Hard.
Don't remind me. I missed that one. Like one of my screenwriting idols for that script alone. That, oh God, that movie's so influential.
Mine too. Nobody said there was this kind of pressure.
Well, yeah. We're looking to worship you.
I waited a long time to have my own cult, so this is amazing. All right. It has been a long and annoying week. Wow, WME finally gave in and signed the WGA thing.
Under any kind of without a fight, or did they have like some?
I mean, only the last 18 months. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know. I think they just gave, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I can't imagine they didn't just give in to what they were asking for because the WGA was so militant.
Yeah.
Dear members, the WGA and William Morris Endeavor have reached a deal on a franchise agreement. Therefore, effective immediately, WME may once again represent Guild members for covered writing services. WGA and WME have also agreed to withdraw the legal claims each has brought against the other in federal court. Oh, I got a letter like this from my ex-wife.
Oh.
A sunset period that ends the practice of packaging by June 30th, 2022.
Oh, cool.
So they get a little while longer to do the thing, and then they'll stop it. It's crazy. It's anyway. It's interesting.
They get the rest of the pandemic to do it.
Oh, how dare you?
Oh, there we go.
Well, you got to pay the piper, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
What made it a long week?
Oh, just you know, it's an annoying job. It's like, it really is just a job, you know. You just gotta like wake up and your boss is an asshole because it's you. So it's like you never really like get to feel, you know, that you know, in Apocalypse Now, and when Martin Sheen wakes up in the hotel room and he's like, I'm still only in Saigon, you know, and he's like, every day that I'm here is like another day Charlie is squatting in the bush. It's like every time you're not working, you're just like, some kid off the bus is getting stronger. So yeah. So anyway, you just push yourself for a little, probably too long. So plus sometimes things are like, I mean, I'll be super vague, sadly, but sometimes you'll like sign on to do something for somebody who seems interesting, and then you'll work on it for a while, and then like the goalposts will continue to move in strange ways. Not to sound like a Republican, because I think they always say that, but you know, it's just like all of a sudden, like things get, you know, it gets a little, if you look at from where things originally began to where it ends, it's quite different, but it was just little tiptoe changes along, like things along the way that you're like, okay, and then one day you look at it and you're like, I don't recognize this. You know, like, so yeah, so that's kind of annoying. So, and there are, you know, a lot of these companies, you know, there's people sometimes sometimes the interest of the people who own these companies ebbs and flows, you know, in what they do. So so
Sounds like a dream career.
yeah, it's great. So no, it's fine. You know what, the upside is really all the good stuff that you always think about and hope for, you know, like all the growing up daydreams. That upside part really does work. Like, you know, I mean, I've worn jeans my entire adult life, you know, and like I never, you know, like all that nonsense. So yeah, you know, TV changes stuff because you have to go somewhere. But it turns out when you get there, instead of hating it, you're like, oh, actually, this is a very nice place to be. It's like, you know, most people grow up in their hometown and they have difficulty finding other people like them. And then you move here, or you go to a TV room and you're just like, oh, wait a minute, all these, where were you guys in the 6th grade when I could have used you, you know? So I was really used to just sort of sitting alone or just with one other person all the time. And the idea of being with like 7 or 8 people in a room was really daunting and kind of treacherous. And then it turned out to be all right. So yeah. I'd love to answer any, like if there's anything hardcore I can do to help, I would love to do that. You know, I mean, I'm happy to blather about my own nonsense, but I'd much rather just do like hardcore helpful things if that's good.
I'll be right back. I have to give Patty another link.
That's obviously a metaphor for something. Like, I don't know that we'll ever be able to decipher what he's really doing right now that we can't see. So anyway, but yeah, if there's any questions or anything about the stuff, I'm certainly happy to help.
Yep. For me, I was in the same boat. I always said I'm not going to do TV. I don't like TV. It's not my thing. Too many people, too much stuff going on. And then like earlier this week, I'm like, I got an idea for a pilot. I love TV. I got to do it. So now I'm like completely unprepared to do this thing that I said I was never going to do. And now all of a sudden, I mean, I don't even know how to write a pilot, but I'm sitting at the computer. So
I'd say the trick about a pilot.
Where do you start?
Right. I hear, you know, I know TV writers and movie writers, and I know people who cross over, and all the TV writers talk about how it's harder to write a pilot than a spec script. And it's like, you know, pilot's kind of like a long act 1, you know, it's like, you don't really have to like resolve anything or like, you know, develop anything out. You have to make like 27 amazing suggestions of interesting things happening, you know, and like intimate like an idea of where people think they're going. But it's never really like, you know, to me, it's just always seems so strangely easy. Like, you know, it's like an incomplete, it's like a little first piece of something much longer. It would be like if you could get a really good novel deal by turning in 1 chapter. It would be like, fucking A. So.
Yeah, that's interesting because I write novels and I write screenplays and I write pilots. And I have a novel series of 6 books. And
oh, wow.
The pilot was so easy to write because it was just, you know, a smidgen of that series.
Yeah, and it's your world too, which is fun. So I wonder, how did you feel? Did you feel good about it? Like, you know, there's some people have that theory that you shouldn't adapt your own stuff because you're too close to it and all those things. No problem.
Well, it remains to be seen. It was an Austin Film Festival 2nd rounder this year, so nice. I think I did an okay job, and you know, I earn money as a screenwriter, so I think nice. I think I've got the hang of it now.
It's really slow until it's not, and then it is again. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
there's the waves of stuff that you sort of ride at different times. And so, strategically, I just try to plant little future bombs all the time, instead of like a lot of people will do something and finish and then like, figure out what's next, or take a vacation and figure out what's next or whatever. And it's just like, I'd always rather be sort of like multiple things at a time. I've usually found that if you initiate 5 or 6 things, 2 things might get sales type traction, and maybe then out of that, maybe you could get 1 made, hopefully. So it's like large ratios to work at. Yeah, and I've seen a lot of I have a first-time writer friend who just did everything wrong after his first sale, despite my begging him not to. So I think you always have to be, I didn't move to LA until after I had 2, because I just figured, well, this first one could just be a tremendous fluke, and I don't want to find myself trapped in Los Angeles and like, so I waited until there was a second one before I bothered to come out full time.
What's everything wrong?
What do you mean?
What was everything that they did wrong after selling their first?
Oh, it's really hard. Some people will get in immediately and catch fire and just set up thing after thing after thing in what seems like a mad dash. But the reality of that is usually they had a bunch of things being pushed through the system, and one of them popped, and then therefore it gave like enough, energy to the other ones to help push a few other things through or get more people to pay attention. And so, but what you got to do is like, you can't ever just take that first one and just start, acting as though you have money to spend. You have to like keep yourself to the same poverty levels that you kept yourself before, until you can establish that it's not a fluke, because it's just not a reliable tap that you can at will turn on and off until you can. And then you won't be able to again at some point. Like it really just comes and goes. So he, my friend basically, made a sale and like quit his day job, despite I begged him, like pretty much begged him not to quit his day job. And he quit his day job and just started, sort of started living off the things. And then all of a sudden, you realize like, wait a minute, like in addition to my day job, I would have had an amazing bank account. Living on this month to month, I'm suddenly back, in nervous territory after 6 months. So yeah, I just always thought that was a bad mistake. Treat your first one, for me anyway, everybody's path is different, and everybody should only take advice that resonates to them or works for them. But for me, I really wanted to know that I could do it a couple of times before I was gonna fully bank on changing my because when you leave your hometown, you have to like say mean things to everybody and break your furniture and leave, and a big huff, and like you don't want to crawl back 4.5 months later, like well, I'm back. So anyway, anything else I can help with? I mean, I'm happy to blabber, but I'd love to do things that you guys don't actually know.
Okay, well, I gotta go to this structure, because I'm all about the craft. Like the business side will happen probably outside my awareness, so I'm like really focused on crafting good stuff that I think people would find compelling. And I don't know how I should structure a pilot where I set, like you say, you plant these bombs, but don't resolve them all. Like, how do you space that stuff out and make it so that it's like a chain going around the bicycle gears rather than going in circles on one?
Yep. For me, there's 2 ways. Look, and again, everybody's different, but for me, there's 2 ways. Some of them just fall out completely done, and it's hard to keep up with putting it all down. And then some of them are like more laborious, So for the laborious ones, it's like, I think if you're not using some version of whiteboard or no cards or something, you're definitely clinically insane. Like I didn't do it forever. Like forever and ever, I thought it was a dumb system, and I thought it was for the mentally weak, and then one day, once I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, what an idiot I was. No wonder, so I'm trying to think, like I took things that I loved and I really examined them to the point that I could no longer love them, to see what made them tick. And I would take an entire pilot that I loved and I would type it, or a movie that I loved, and I would type it off of like watching the DVD, and I would type it as though it was a script that I was doing, but it was everything that I saw, And when you do Raiders of the Lost Ark or some of your favorite movies that way, you start to realize like it's less there than you think. Like, don't overthink it and think that you're weaving life's rich tapestry. It's really like it's a subtle like intimation of depth without actually diving into that depth, So it's like, and also, I mean, pilots are different. I have a real definite way of structuring movies that I've always used and always really like. But pilots are a little free form. Don't go over 50 pages. End on a massive change cliffhanger thing. Open on something that grabs them really quick. Don't ever have a scene that seems to be designed about conveying themes. The real trick that you ultimately get to, like I've seen I'm sorry, you realize I've seen a lot of beginning writers and they do things like, okay, now I've sat in rooms with people who are starting out recently and they're just like, okay, now I gotta do this scene that establishes my major theme. And then I'm going to do this other scene that establishes my sub theme. Like, I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about, but the best, if you use the muscle long enough and you respect the rules long enough to go through the process of being bad till you get good, which really requires draft after draft after draft. The mistake new writers make is they'll do something, finish it, get to the end and say, well, that's done. And then move on to the next one and write that to the end. And they think that's a learning curve. The biggest learning curve you could ever have is to stick with something and just rewrite the living shit out of it and put it away for 4 to 6 weeks until you're a different person when you read it again. You know what I mean? Like you really, there's no time constraint on anybody. And you have such a different perspective of stuff that you've written before when you go back to look at it later, like, save yourself that luxury. But, with a pilot, look at pilots that you love. Look at the things that they really convey. Sometimes a pilot and an act one of a movie secretly is the entire movie. Like it's like if you ever look at the X-Files pilot, I mean, Mulder and Scully meet, they go out to the thing, they fly to a case, they see a UFO, and then they come back and like have to report in and find out that they're not going to get anywhere. And it's like, it's really the entire series is encapsulated inside this pilot. And sometimes that makes the journey easier for people on the other side who are going to buy stuff or look at stuff to understand, because there's a tendency, I think, when you're writing a pilot to hold back. And from what I understand, they really want you to give everything, like just not your entire series thing, but like don't hold back something where in your mind you go, that's more an episode 3 moment. It's like that. There's no guarantee there's ever going to be a 2 or a 3. So maybe best to put your best shit down now, So don't hold back in those things. Give the big moment. If you were going to independently write Game of Thrones or something, you should probably kill Ned Stark at the end of your pilot. And then if you sell the show, you go back and you beg them and say, this is really better in the 9th episode, if you don't mind, because we'll care so much more. But like, I just, so just don't be afraid to give it a big thing. And little, scenes aren't movies. Like scenes don't have beginnings, middles, and ends. Movies and TV are just little slices of stuff. They're not the full experience. It's like telling somebody a story that you kind of forgot from 14 days ago. Like there's stuff that's missing that would be there in regular life, but we just forgive it because we enjoy narrative drive. So anyway, give a lot, punch really hard, and deliver interesting people. And I would always never chase any marketplace. Just be you. The only thing that works right now is to just be you. There's nothing like there's very little like artifice material going on right now. You can see in all the series, there's a lot of like first person singular series things going on right now. So, authentic, interesting, different voices is exactly what everybody is looking for. It's the only the only probable time where there's an even level playing field amongst everybody to go in and do stuff, probably in the entire history of this industry. And I don't think it's going to fade away. You see other stages like this where there's been like little pendulum swings towards more inclusion or, and things like that. And then, when people stop paying attention, everything just, creeps back to normal. This one feels more permanent, I think. So, it's really interesting to see. So just I would be individuals and your own thing, and never be afraid of that stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, man. You're really speaking my language about the scenes too.
English? Oh,
Yeah, English.
that's
It's
so cool.
mostly,
We both speak English. It's awesome.
well, it's my estimation of English. I have a learning disability, so it's really weird.
Oh boy.
But my thing with scenes was always scenes do not have a beginning, middle, and end. They only have a middle, and they hint at an end. So that's how I write them. So I loved hearing that. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, somebody said it once. It was like, start as late as possible, get out as early as possible. That Cameron Crowe book that he did with Billy Wilder is really good. It's really good. Whether you're a Billy fan or not, he lays out some stuff that is just really interesting. And some of it seems obvious when you're reading it, but then you realize when you're sitting there that it's maybe it wasn't as obvious when you're in the moment. He's a big advocate of saying, get to your ending. Like don't stick around any longer than you have to.
Get to the point.
I'm trying. I apologize. I didn't mean
No. I'm saying that's what you're supposed to do in the scene is get to the damn point.
Just fun and it's Friday.
Oh, okay.
I assume we're
like
all
I said,
high.
Learning disability, I take things literally. So, but I get the joke after you explain it. So it's cool.
I have the same setup here at home with my wife. So I find myself 30 seconds later saying, you knew that was a joke, right? Yeah. Anyway. So but look, if there's anything, TV or movies or anything other, please don't be shy. I really don't. Writers are really like, how there were kids in high school who were like, they weren't the cool kids, but they weren't like completely on the outside either. They sort of like gravitated between all these various groups and everything. Like writers are really like just largely entirely nobodies. Like just sometimes you get to sit at the table with the cool kids and people look, when the first movie that got made was this movie Oculus, and I did this little cameo in it because the director really wanted me to, and like the whole day in the morning I was with the extras just hanging out, and we were having a good time, and we were all like, I had to push the mirror on cue on this little dolly and everything, and it was like really hard and it was a very difficult thing to do. And then at lunch, like I went to sit with all my friends and I didn't think anything about it. And then the second half of the day, it was entirely like, oh no, like it was a completely different experience. Nobody would talk to me, and I was like really ostracized by the group. So anyway, yeah. So is that Joe? Hi, Joe.
Hi, Jeff.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Aw, good. I was like scrolling through and I was like, oh my God, a friendly face. No, you know what I mean? Not that you guys all look criminally cruel. I'm just saying a person I know. So I mean,
it's okay, Jeff. We got it.
You trying to talk, Patty?
Sorry?
Patty's trying to talk, but I don't think I can unmute you.
Oh, is she muted?
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
Bottom left corner. If you take your mouse down to the bottom left.
There you are.
Good.
So this is Patty, the great Oscar-nominated actress for the horror movie Bad Seed in the long haul. But I figured since Jeff does horror movies, I thought maybe if Patty did Bad Seed, maybe she could join us.
Oh, that's so awesome.
You know what's weird? I see 15 participants, but I'm not counting everybody. Should I click on that?
I don't know. Let's do it all together and find out what happens.
Let's see what happens.
Oh,
I may go away. I don't know.
They're all over there on the side now. How intriguing.
Well, there's a view on the top that you can hit, and you can do speaker
Okay.
on the top right.
Oh, there. Okay. Let me say goodbye to this. I don't know how to do that. Okay. This is fun. This will be fun. Oh, look. No, it's bigger. I like it.
Oh, good. Patty is a really sweet person, so if you have actor,
I'll be quiet now. Go ahead.
And then we have a couple actresses here too.
I did think of one thing, but it was an actor thing. When you were talking about writing scenes, that was so funny to hear it described that way for TV, that it's the second act or whatever, that or it's the, it doesn't end. I mean, you hint at an ending, but you know, and it's not the first part.
Right.
I thought we used to have an exercise in class. Milton, it was Milton Casellas a long time ago. And it was going from one room, it was leaving a room where something happened. And the only scene that he wanted to see was whatever that was, you wear it in the middle and then you leave to go somewhere else. And it reminded me in a funny way that that's what you were talking about writing.
I think it's so funny when people think they're different. They're not so different. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing those classes, that's exactly what you're doing. And when we're sitting at home on the bench, like that's what's going on there too.
Yeah. Anyway, just reminded me.
That's awesome. We're always jealous of it. You guys are having such a better time than we are. At least that's the perception.
We're trying to remember what you wrote. We're trying to.
One of my favorite things, every time you do something, I'm sure you've done this a bunch of times. Like at some point, the performers and the talent all want to like meet you and say hi, and just chat for a few minutes. And it's always so cool. It's always like it's the only time you actually feel cool when you visit a set. There's always like one time I was just like, all of a sudden I started hearing a lot of walkie-talkies going, they're looking for Jeff Howard on the phone. I was like, whoa, oh God, like did I eat a union snack? Like, what did I do? So.
And also theater honors, the writer is God, and it's not the same in television. And because producers and writers, and, there's a lot of people. And so, and then there are the actors who have been on long enough where they have power,
Yeah.
And they say, my character wouldn't say that,
Did you have fun?
I've seen a lot of.
Did you have fun with FrostNixon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's an interesting part to do. That's fun one. That might have been fun. I hope
it was very fun. The audition was fun. The research was fun. I learned a lot about her, and she had a tough road, but he was wonderful too,
Nixon?
No, I mean, that's his name.
How dare you, madam? Yeah, Ron Howard. Howard.
Oh, definitely Ron Howard. But who played Nixon?
Oh yeah, holy moly!
No.
Anthony Hopkins? No, that was the other one. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
I can picture him.
He did it on stage too. I can think of Michael Sheen. I can't think of. Oh well.
Everybody jump on
IMDb. He was great.
Exactly.
He was like 9 feet. The actor was like really.
Frank Langella?
Yes.
Is that who it was? Okay, good. Phew. Right as I pulled up IMDb, I got there.
He was unusually tall because Nixon wasn't that tall, and Pat apparently was tall, and I was unusually short. So we were like Mutt and Jeff, but we weren't. I didn't have that much to do, and he was sitting at the piano for one of it, so it was okay.
Right, it's funny.
But it was great fun, and Ron Howard really seemed to love what he does. Like he left looking at the camera, and he sat in the room and watched like old style.
Yeah.
Like an old director who used to sit and see what was going on between the people.
It's funny. I sold a script to him one time. My second script, or third script, just sold. I mean, I'm sure entirely sold because he attached himself as a director, and it was like, it was very. That was a fun ride. He was really cool to work with.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, it was early, and when they bought our story, it's a period piece, like star-driven drama, basically with some action in it, and he had just made Cinderella Man. It was going to go off and make whatchamacallit, the DaVinci Code. And it was like, then Cinderella Man just tanked so hard, and we were like, oh my God, he's never going to return to an earnest movie star period piece for a long time, and we were right.
No.
What can you do?
Well,
It was fun. He was great to work with, and I got to watch Brian Grazer yell. And the Imagine lobby was like the best. I went there like 37 times, or some crazy number. I don't know the actual number, but like one time I went like 3 times in 2 weeks, and every time I went, Andre 3000 was there. And like the first time it was like, oh, I know this guy's a singer. He had a really massive hit, a couple of hits, and then tried to, done a lot of acting.
I'm so okay.
Yeah. And then the second time it was sort of like, oh, you again. And then the third time we were just sitting and talking for a while. And as we were watching, like Maggie Gyllenhaal walked by, and they were making her take a Polaroid for obviously, and like a casting session. And you could just, it was like, you could tell it was like the one thing in the world she just had no interest in doing at all at that moment, was standing there and having her Polaroid taken, it's like, so anyway. But yeah, if there's anything that I can, I don't know. Everybody's so worried about trying to, it's a weird business, that I never, when we go in and we get rejected, it's like, oh, I think your ideas are stupid. I could never be an actor because it's like, oh, I don't like your face. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if I could survive that. So
they always say don't take it personally, but how else can you?
Yeah, I can get new ideas, but like,
well, you don't want me,
Yeah.
But if you have a product, that you're handing them, that but still you take it personally, because that's your art,
All the actors I know really enjoy being a piece of something too, more than like like I guess being perceived as carrying an entire thing. Like everybody seems to really enjoy this idea of like the back. You don't know much about it.
Spoke in the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We did this Stephen King
hard
thing.
to hold on to that one place too, and not run into somebody else's,
Yeah.
if they're getting, more response, or
Especially because so little rehearsal in movies,
I know.
We did this, it was a Stephen King movie, and it was it was called Gerald's Game, and the 2 leads in it was Carla Gugino and why can't I pull Bruce's name? And Bruce, and they were both really interesting. But like late at night, you would walk down to the hotel lobby, and they would just be down there working through their stuff for the next day together. Like they just created their own rehearsal patterns, and it was like, wow, they were just so into it. So yeah, that was really cool. Anyway, hey everybody.
Jeff, you were saying that you have kind of a structure for films that you go by. What is that structure?
All righty, ready? I mean, look, this could be completely nonsense to somebody else, but poor Joe has heard this before. But it's like,
is that too dark? I feel like I'm getting sunburned. Okay.
We can see you. It's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put in a little spot over me to give myself the illusion of 3 dimensions in a minute, because I realize I need that for the back there. Anyway, what were we talking about? I totally forgot.
Your structure.
Oh yeah. I've always done it in 4 parts. The first, like if you were going to do a horror movie and you say it's about 100 pages, the first 25 pages is all the act 1 stuff that you think. There's the person or the people. There's making you care about them without making it seem obvious that you're making you care about them. And then there's the big, terrible thing that begins to creep up on them. And basically, everybody has a personal problem, and they have what I always call the world problem. But it doesn't mean global. It just means the big problem of the movie. And we meet the personal problem in the first act, and then the global problem sort of hits us at the end of the first act, of the first piece. And then the second piece, is what you would call the first half of the second act, is like, in essence, the person is so caught up in their personal problem that they are failing miserably at the global problem for an extended period of time, until there's a midpoint where, for like 5 or 7 pages, to cut into your 25s of each quadrant there, like there's a midpoint where the global and the personal collide for a moment and hurt the character, and or deeply affect them in some way. And at that point, for the second half of the second act, the third piece, the next 25 pages, they put aside the personal problem and focus on the world problem, because they have to. And then at the end of that piece, the end of the second act, there's the rug pull that they got really close to solving the global problem, but they get sent back to 0. But what they discover in that fourth piece, the third act, is having put away the personal problem for such an extended period of time, they have inadvertently solved their worst problems and are now able to tackle the global problem from the beginning again in the third act and get really close to winning, but always end up in some sort of like bittersweet scenario. So anyway, like I have it written down, you know, it's, you know, but you can stick it somewhere. But you know, when I went through the AFI list of the top 25 rated movies, and I went through the top grossing movies that were the top 25 grossing movies, and I broke them all down in structure, and almost every single one of them has that exact same structure. Like Tommy Boy has that structure, and so does Schindler's List. You know.
So does what?
Schindler's List. Like they both, you know, they're just like movies just seem to organically have that structure. And then I just try to apply the same thing to a season of TV in its own way, you know, and drive to a real conclusion that you know, you hope to drive to a conclusion anyway. So there's 2 more series coming soon that you'll get to see and decide for yourselves. like I didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't drive to anything. So we'll see. But yeah, that structure has been pretty good to me. It's like 4 equal 25-page chunks. And you know how you get really daunted by Act 2? This is like 25 pages. I always steal 30, you know, for the first act, because you want to live there a little longer. You want to care a little bit more. And then you do like a shorter first half of the second act, like 20, 25. And then you do 5 or so for the midpoint, you know, and then what you're calling the midpoint, but it falls late in the structure. Then you do like 20 for the third piece and 20 for the fourth piece, and you're out, you know? And it's like, you're not sitting there thinking, how am I going to cover the next 55 pages? You're going, okay, I got 15 or 20 minutes to do my thing until this giant middle sequence is going to come up and alter my course, you know? So it just makes it less daunting. The other thing that people don't do that I could not more highly recommend is really extensive outlining for either one, features or pilots. Like with a feature, I do like a 3-page thing that is like no details, but beginning to end. Like you can't just, you know, you can't just say, oh, and then, you know, the back half will be great. And then I you know, like you got to like force yourself. Like it's like, you know, guy wakes up, robs bank, you know, gets murdered by the Yakuza, you know, like it's just, you know, like you just go, you know, like you have to like, and it's no more detailed than that, because I see a lot of friends who, when they're beginning, fall into this trap. So beware. A lot of people will get a great idea, and Joe has heard this many times. It's like a lot of people will get an idea and they'll get really excited and they'll write like 27 pages in a flourish with no idea of where they're going to go. And then they run out of ideas, and then they're stuck because they have 27 pages they love and they have no idea what to do next. And it's like, you need to physically force yourself before you sit down and do a burst like that to go through to an ending. You know what I mean? Like even if you change it, or even if I almost said even if it takes you somewhere else when you're in the middle of it, but really you shouldn't do that. You were probably right the first time.
Find you have X amount of beats.
No.
When you write it, those 3 pages.
Nope, just whatever they are. You know. You just can't, and people say like you can't have a 7-page scene, you can't have a this, you can't have a that. It's like there's no rules. There's no, I mean, you want to hit the structure beats, because whether or not we accept it, executives are looking for those structured beats in their own way, but whether or not we accept it, we also have them ingrained in our bodies, in our minds, from watching all this shit all together all of our lives, you know. So those structures all informed us in one way or another. At least that's what Carl Jung says. So I could be wrong. That's not me.
Thanks.
Sure.
I have a question. I'm more interested in the writing stuff. I feel like I'm never stop learning, to be honest. But like I always feel like, okay, I have all this material, but then it's actually like, as a new writer, like what did you find was your biggest success to actually getting out there and getting it made? Like if you could say like one thing that, you know, okay, that was the thing that worked to get my work out there and like in front of audiences, like.
Yeah. I sold my first script in Another Millennium, 1999, and nothing got made until 2011 when Oculus started to get greenlit. And the biggest difference was I worked with a young director with a really great short, and it, you know, the short was really good enough to get people's attention. It's like a script on its own is not really, you know, it's almost never worth something on its own. So what you end up doing is you get to know more and more people, and you expand your peer group, and you combine forces, and you know, I write with a lot. I write with a lot of directors, just because it just makes stuff more, you know, real. Scripts are great, but studios and even TV places now want to know the director, and they want to know that it's, you know, in the hands of somebody who's actually going to bring them what they need. You know, like when you're going to invest multiple millions of dollars in something, you just really want every assurance that you can that you're going to get a return. Otherwise you'll get fired. You know, so always also just have the empathy of knowing that the people on the other side who you're trying to show your stuff to and everything are just people with a job at a place with a boss and a mandate, who are looking to live their own version of their Hollywood dream. You know, they just don't, they're exactly like you. They're just on a different side of the job. And it's like, managers can't secretly hip pocket represent you most of the time, because managers, if they get caught doing that or realizing that they're rigging the system at their place, they'll help you along until the place where they can bring you in. But if you're a manager at a big company or an agent at an agency, you're judged on the basis of, I have 27 clients, I grossed this much total last year, 27 divided by that total is this number, and if I don't hit 600,000 per, then I'm going to be fired. You know, so it's like they can't, when everybody wants to be added to those lists and do those things, it's like that will happen, but only once there's a piece of material that looks like there's a preponderance of people, like something's happening, you know. So don't be afraid to show your stuff to people. Don't worry so much about reaching out to agents and managers as much as you try to reach out to producers and their staffs, who are somewhat readily accessible, need to find material in order to survive, need to put a lot of material out there, are easy to crack as a first-time writer. There's so many people on Twitter and places like that that you can get to know. Producers are always looking, and they know all the agents and the managers and everything. They're like an untapped resource. Everybody goes after agents and managers. So
I think one thing I've not really tried to get into is the agents and the managers, because it just feels like hard to get through that first step. But I guess I need to do better with the networking, because I just keep thinking, well, maybe like, is it better to make it and then try and sell it? Do you know what I mean? Being so unknown, right?
Look, it works. The best thing to do today, if you have any inclination toward directing, if you don't, find somebody who's a director and doesn't have an inclination toward writing and team up. The two best things you need to have are one finished thing that's just excellent, as our friend Joe does. And then one, I would have a short that was literally no longer than like 8 minutes, like somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes, and didn't try to tell an entire story, but told a moment really, really, really well. And was just, if there's a moment where you see the microphone or your best friend who you got to act in the part looks stupid, you have to cut it. You can't believe, oh, my narrative is so important that I need to keep this. You just don't need, it needs to really work from beginning to end. And 5 minutes, iPhones, it's not that crazy to do it these days. Like, everybody does have the opportunity to make that. But a short film will catapult in a way that it would take a lot of people, a lot of more energy to get them to read a script, because a script represents 80 minutes of my day and a short represents 7 minutes of my day. You know,
hey, that's actually good advice, so thank you.
Yeah, try that. And if you don't want to direct, there are directors everywhere, like, who want, you know, like, team up and let the, you know, this is my job, that's yours, we both have this thing to show, and, you know, it's good for everybody.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, anytime. Oh, yeah.
Jeff,
I'll ask as well. Sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Because one of the things that I do is put it out there on things like Coverfly, and put my stuff to, you know, get into various competitions and stuff like that. Because I don't know which other way to do it. I've tried to connect with people on LinkedIn, and I've tried to connect with people on Twitter, but then there's never anything substantial enough where they say, okay, send me your stuff. So
It takes a while. It's a slow, insidious process. Like nobody immediately. I did a bunch. I'm loath to say. I did a bunch of reading a few months ago, and it devolved into a slight ugliness with a instance where somebody got a little weird, and it was like, oh, this is why all my peers told me that I was a complete fucking idiot to do that. So it just takes like one unusual persona to sour people on trying really, really hard to like open up, So I would play a long game when it comes to getting to know people. But listen, I would know, just because I would not use I would do everything. The contests, I would do the ones that seem reputable. I didn't know anything. Like my way that it was in was I met the guy. I lived in Baltimore, and I met the Maryland Film Commissioner, and they're like in charge. These film commission people like live in your town, and they're responsible for bringing productions to your town, with the tax credits and whatever they have around. And almost every place has one. And it's like, I just realized, like, this guy knows people in Los Angeles. Like if I'm nice enough to this guy, I could maybe like meet people through him to go. You know what I mean? So it was like a months and months and months long process of like showing him material and taking notes and going to lunch and hanging out and all this stuff. And then finally he was like, hey, I could introduce you to a couple of people. I was like, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, but see, how do you obviously in COVID times it's different. It's difficult right now, but in general, like I don't live too far away from London, and I know a lot of movies get made in London. But where do I start? Where do I go? I don't know one of the things that I was talking to people on Twitter about the other day, and I was saying to them, it's not like on Twitter you have some sort of writing community where you can chit chat because everyone hashtags writing community or hashtags pipeline this or something like that. But when you go into a bar or a pub or something, there's no table that says, hey, writers come over here, or hey, producers come over here, or so how do you find people?
Yeah, listen, everybody that you ever ask this question is going to make the same stupid face that I'm making right now. It's really everybody has a different wending path that makes almost no sense. You know what I mean? It's always a weird combination of like working your ass off, and yeah, that is true. There's always like events and stuff that you go to, like where people are specifically trying to do that. My way was just the personal way. I just literally met a lot of people through various internet sources that were like maybe not the biggest of the big, but that like there's a lot of working professionals out there whose names you do not know, but you have seen on movies that you like. I would pull out the top 30 movies that I really loved and thought my style was like, and look at the people who are the associate producers or the assistant to Mr. This. And it's like, this week's assistant to Mr. This is next week running the company. There's that happens all the time.
Even if you find those names, how do you get hold of them? Because like I say, I try through LinkedIn and Twitter, but how else do people
well, I would never go direct. I would never just say, can you do this? What I would do, like if you were on Twitter, is I would follow somebody, and if there was something that they posted that naturally fit into something that you know about or like, I would make my pithy comment about that, and like, hope that over the course of a few months you got noticed after a couple of those. And then typically, I mean, look, everybody, I've said this a couple, like everybody here, whether they will ever admit it or not, wakes up in the morning. I have to get on that Zoom in 10 minutes, by the way, with a giant star vanity company, and it's not going to go well. So it's like going to be a really annoying end to a Friday. It's like, so yeah. So there's something to live for. I would play it long. I would go with people who work at these companies. There's a producer out there who made a movie you like, who has 194 followers on Twitter because nobody knows who they are. You know what I mean? Follow them, like some things that you actually like. Don't stalk, but like just subtly get to know people the way you would anybody else that you happen to fall into in that community, and don't treat them any differently. Don't, but never. You never really have to ask. If you fall into the orbit of somebody, sooner or later, they will get interested because everybody's a human being, and they'll eventually see you a few times and they'll go, that guy had an interesting point of view. And then they'll probably reach out in some way or say something, or at that point, once you feel like there's a comfort factor, you could say something like, I don't know. One time I got invited to go to a set and they were like, we don't have a synopsis for this thing like that works. And I'd read the script the night before and I gave a synopsis that worked. And the guy was like really grateful. And I said, oh, dude, you should hear how well I synopsized my own shit. And like that led to a meeting. So just, you know, convert every opportunity. Don't worry about the biggest of the big people. They're really busy and they're scared because they get sued, you know, and nobody needs it. So find people who work for producers who are smaller producers or, you know, like different writers. I know a lot of writers who just get to know other writers, and we all remember the experience of having no clue how to break in. And you know, you will, when somebody writes something good that you respond to, you'll open a door to help them out. And what you cannot control is what happens after that door is opened. And so it's like, no matter what happens, if you open a door, you do not deserve credit for somebody's massive success, nor do you deserve credit for anybody's terribly, you know, horrible crash burn failure. Like you just, you know, just opening a door based on taste. It's like, you know, nobody owes you a gold watch in the future, and nobody should come stalk you and shoot you with a crossbow. So,
yeah, like just to piggyback, sorry to interrupt, but like just to piggyback off of what you said, Jeff, like treating everyone like a human being, that is actually very factual. Because I remember growing up, I really loved music. I really, really, really loved music, and I would always imagine putting music on my stuff for television, not for movies, because I don't know. I know that movies would just give you the song and keep it pushing, but I would be really obsessed with these musicians, and it'd always be the up and comings, you know, the ones that played on Grey's Anatomy or whatever. And they loved me so much, they wanted me to like be an A&R for them. I was like, no, I don't do that. I'm a screenwriter. And they were so shook because I treated them like human beings. So I almost got like a whole A&R job at like Virgin or whatever because the people liked me so much. But that wasn't my go-to. It was the screenwriting. So I thought to myself, why don't I just apply that to the screenwriting field? And it really worked. Like, I'm now a part of a writing community of people. I actually did it during Corona season. That was the best time. Everything was so free. I loved it. You know, you could really like monopolize what's going on and pass through the red tape.
Corona season is a good time for the internet interaction. Everybody is pretty much sitting at home most of the time, bored off their ass. I've had Zooms with people where you would have gone physically, I would have had to gone through 2 layers of meetings before getting to that Zoom. You know what I mean? Like it's like people are just home, bored, and cutting to the chase. So
yes, it's literally like everybody is like a whole bunch of Midwestern American kids just sitting around being young and restless, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And that's great because that's what I've been used to since I was a baby. So I really used that and monopolized it, and now I have like great writing communities. I was able to, you know, get a writing gig out of it. It's been really good.
That's great. Yeah. You know what? Sometimes being a human being really pays off, you know, and like the industry has moved into a stage. I think they're moving away from the automaton, angry, you know, like, you know, perceived past Hollywood cocaine anger executives, people, you know what I mean? And stuff. I think now it's like, I think voice, you know, everybody really, look, they had to be fucking pushed into it really hard, obviously, but they've ultimately now embraced the idea that there are so many different stories to tell and so many different people to work with. And all the people that I know who are working in it are really enjoying this stage of the industry because they're having fun in a way that they never got to have before, you know? It's a new experience for anybody in any creative field is always so much better than just grinding away at the same old thing over and over again. Anyway, which is why I really like I've done nothing but team ups with, you know, for like the last year, most of what I've done has been teaming up with people who I've just met and liked and just thought, you know what, let's take a shot and see what happens. And, you know, a couple of, you know, one of the best writers I've ever met has been from Twitter. She's just, you know, yeah, she's great. She's just so going to pop in a huge way. And she keeps teaching me stuff. I'm like, God, fuck you.
I have a super quick question.
Yeah.
That's sort of kind of niche, but I'm an actor and a writer, so here for both Jeff and Patty.
Nice.
And I love writing things in which I can see myself like maybe one day playing like that role. But do you think that hinders like the marketability of putting things out? If I am like, oh, you know, maybe I'd want to be in it or whatever, like, do you think that hurts anything towards it?
I mean, look, there's two factors that are involved. How good is it and how good are you? You know what I mean? Like that's, like for real. Like, I mean, Stallone made that exact thing happen famously back in the day when he wouldn't sell his Rocky script unless it was him. It's like, I think that that should be your top priority. If it's not the first thing you do that gets you to the dual combination, maybe it's the third one or the fourth one, but like get yourself in the door in that way and continue to present yourself that way. First impressions are really important. So whatever you present yourself to as the first time you meet them is quite often what they will always see you as.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I so don't want to go to this meeting. It's just like when they scheduled it in the morning, it was like, oh, this is going to be a great way to end the week. And then I got like an email, like giving me a heads up about, the direction it was going to go. And I was like, oh man, can't I just, in the old days, you would just say, oh, I've got a sore throat. I didn't want to be able to, so.
Well, Jeff, if you go to the meeting, are you going to get paid for it?
No, I had this company. I'm trying to think of a really vague way to say this. I met this really nice writer, young black guy, really good. He's a colorist in film. He's just really talented. And he had an idea and he got it set up at like one of those companies that's like run by, by a star and a great one and really cool and very, like just great. But the problem is the attention there ebbs and flows at places like that. So it's like, there's times of intense activity, hurry now. And then there's times where it's like, well, I'm gone for 7 months. And basically we're moving into one of those, I'm gone for 7 months stages before I got out of it the only thing that I got into it to do. So basically it's like, I mean, look, it's vague enough. Strategically, a company like that, what's the gift that they have is they have one giant persona at the thing that everybody wants to be in business with and know. And the only thing that you can hope to bargain out of one of those companies is, I want that person to make this call once we get to this stage, And it's like, the entire thing was pre-built on, you will make this call at this stage. And then today they're sending the thing like, well, it would probably actually take 7 months to make that call. Like, it would take 7 seconds to make that call, but okay. So, and it's like, they'll say, well, do we want to wait a few months before we reattack this? And I'll just say what I always say, which is like, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow, or I might be a completely different person in 7 months. I have no idea, like we'll pick it up then. So yeah, just a stupid way way to do 6 o'clock on a Friday. So, but the realities are, you start a bunch of things because most of them don't pan out, you know what I mean? So you have, no matter who you are and what's going on, every director that who is super famous has 11 things in development, because they are not sure at any given time which one they'll actually be able to push through the system or not. So yeah, everybody has it hard. When you find out that Spielberg had trouble financing Lincoln, you know that it's not an easy business for anybody. So, but it is, if you treat it like a job and not a dream life destination, you're just going to be so much better off. Like, it's a series of job interviews for a really cool job. It's not like every one of these is like my destiny and my fulfillment of a lifetime, and this is the thing that's going to change everything about my life. It's more like, this is a job you'll do for 6 months, maybe 6 months for 4 different times over a few years if you're lucky. Yeah. So and you're constantly reinventing the wheel. Like the reason to become a creator, start a company, do that whole thing, is because if you don't, you're just recreating the wheel all the time. So like every few months essentially. And like, it's tiring for anybody.
Hey Jeff, your 10 minutes is up, by the way.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the email now to go to the other one. I wish there was some way where I could like combine the two. You guys could just all mute and just
we can listen in. I don't think anyone would mind listening in.
Yeah, all you just listen in is one bitter middle-aged white man on a Friday night at 6 going, "How dare you, sir?" So.
I noticed that when you talk about all of these things, am I muted? No. When you talk about everything, you have a really good, positive, under it all, you're happy about what you do and sharing it. And that's so, it comes across so well. It's just you, I think, you know, but you're not dark and angry and, you know, all of that. And it's really nice to hear you talk about these things with humor, which could anger some people to a point of quitting, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The great Billy Wilder once has said, one of my favorite quotes too, is like, the situation is hopeless, but not serious. You know,
correct.
Like, you know, I mean, we all live again to fight another day, you know, it's like, I don't know. I just don't wrap your self-esteem. I'm sure, you know, Patty, I'm sure you know, you don't wrap your self-esteem up in any one thing. It's like, you look at the whole body of things when you're eventually booted out and go, okay, I can live with that. So.
Really, I'm telling you, it's, and what you said about treat it as your work. You know, it's your work.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be creative and all that, but you know, it's still your job, and it's not going to give you inner peace. You know what I mean? That's another
yes
website.
Yeah. Don't look for, you know, and you can't place your self-esteem on the yeses or nos of executives or anybody. So
like what
Shonda Rhimes taught me that in high school.
Yeah.
So all right, well, I guess I'll go listen to these guys talk to their blah blah. I texted them to tell them I'm on my way.
Thank you, Jeff.
They texted back to say all good. Which means I hate you. You're holding me up. It's Friday night. My car is here. I have a tea time. So, anyway, well, look, thanks for having me. I'm sorry it was short. I would have liked to have stayed for like an hour and a half or something just to keep listening. And Patty McCormick, what a treat to meet you. Thank you so much. It's like
to you, and
thank you very much.
a real pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff.
And Yvonne Spinoza, I see you there. So, and every time I see you, I think of, you know, Baruch di Spinoza. I hope you're a distant relative. So, all right, I'll see y'all later.
Thanks,
Come back
bye-bye.
anytime if you have more questions. All right. All right. Bye.
Yeah.
Like you're at the center of attention, Patty.
I am. Oh dear. Oh no. I'm so filled with all his information. You know, it's like, you mean I'm supposed to talk?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused here. Like, is it Jeff talk and then Patty talk and then we just
I don't know. This is new.
ask questions?
I
have a question. Patty, I'm an actress as well, so I love both sides of the coin here.
Yes.
So, like, you know, and I know how hard it is to get into. I mean, I've had a lot of screen time, like, thankfully, I've been very fortunate, but to get those big roles, like, that, you know, get you recognized in the bigger picture, like, you know, what was your first experience, and like what was your audition for that? Like, you know, was it a monologue, or was it a script, or like, what did you put the success of landing your first big audition that like made you recognizable? Like, I'd be interested to know that.
Okay, well,
how old were you?
A child. So I started very young, and so my particular story is not typical, and also the fact that I'm from a different era. You know what I mean? I started out, I'm old, and so as a child, it was in the 50s and 1950s. And
you don't have to look so nervous about that. Like, that's not a bad thing.
It's like, yeah. Welcome to California. Anyway, I think that I was probably, the way I actually started, you really want to hear this?
Yeah.
I had a baby. I went to a baby contest. I was 4 years old. My aunt, who was more ambitious than my mother in that area, she was just very outgoing, my dad's sister. And she made my mother take me to this baby contest. The baby contest, this is a short version. I won the baby contest. Wasn't the prettiest baby if you looked at the things I saw. So I must have had a personality. And the prize for that contest was a modeling contract. So I began modeling, but as I said, I wasn't, I didn't look like a China doll, I was, you know what I mean? So, so I did a lot of commercial photo shoots for, soda and reading books and doing all kinds of toothpaste, all that. That then led to my having this agency that represented me modeling, wound up representing me as an actor, actress, but I had a speech impediment, really serious. You too? Oh, okay.
I used to when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, mine was a lisp.
Same.
You too?
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's funny about something like that? It's supposed to be, this is nothing about show business, but supposed to be that you should have been either left-handed. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. They say that parents in the old, well, this is my era anyway, that they didn't like children to be left-handed because it looked like something that belonged to the dark side. You know what I mean? This is the 50s. And so that if they change that in the child, that it can give a speech impediment because it's supposed to be right next to, anyway, long story. So lisp, very sloppy lisp, okay? I went to a speech coach because, I don't know, my mom took me because she thought I was at 6 or whatever. I was too old to be lisping, which is probably not true. But I then was sent by the speech coach where I had to do things like potatoes and peas, say those kind of things, but I had a relaxed lisp. I auditioned for a Broadway show because she sent me over there. She was connected with kid actors because she was a speech teacher. And I got that job. And that was my first Broadway my play when I was 6. It was called Touchstone, and it was with Ossie Davis, and it was black and white together, and it was about afterlife, and all of those storylines. We lasted 1 week on Broadway. So that was my introduction to Broadway. The next thing I did was TV. It went on. I could spend 3 hours talking about this. I did a lot of television, walk-ons. I was on Perry Como as a kid in the street, while I was singing a song. I did all kinds of stuff. Then I got one decent job on craft theater around 7 years old. I'm not going to take you through all the years, I promise. But you shouldn't have asked. No.
I like it. I like to know all the stories. I love it.
But and then from that, the next big thing was another audition went out for the play The Bad Seed. And that was my big job, and I auditioned in the theater. I was 8.5. I think I was 8.5, something like that. But at that same time, I got another thing going, which was called I Remember Mama, which was a live TV show. So I was doing all of those things together. I was working a lot for a little kid. And then time went on and did more television and things just grew, parts got better and whatever. I did the original, which I know Rick knows because of Dan, Miracle Worker, which was done before the film or before the Broadway show. It was a TV show on Playhouse 90, which was a drama. Anyway, so one thing led to another, and then, you hit things when you're a kid actor, then you hit teenage years, and that was awful. In many ways, it was awful personally, and it was awful work-wise because you didn't, it was rough. So I grew out of that's what I learned, is that transitioning
Mm.
has to be a part of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I know I could play those parts better than anybody, but I'm too old. You know what I mean? You know, as I look back, I think I would have been great, you know. So you need to always check yourself wherever you're at and have a good realistic take on yourself to know how castable you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world I came from was theater, which gave me a little bit of flexibility, because in those days it used to be you got hired by people and they let you play parts that you wouldn't have been right for on film,
Mm-hmm.
because you could change yourself and
Right.
slapped on a wig and your makeup was different and, you know, you had an accent, you know, so
Yeah.
so I had that stretch of time when my kids were little. In there, I had kids too, who are old people now. So, and they have kids. Don't ever stop having a personal life. That's my recommendation, because nothing is the answer. You know, your career isn't, even that isn't. And, but it's important to keep living life as you go along personally, and not thinking any one of those things is going to make you, I don't know what other word to use, but make you at peace, you know, so that's important, to always stay connected to that, to that reality, that nothing is going to do it all for you.
Mm.
And even then, when you have, I know that because I started so young and I had fame young. So I knew that fame didn't give you something just because you were famous.
Yeah.
Sometimes it even took it away.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, right?
Mm.
So, but the truth is, it's a part of me. I'm very lazy about working, to be honest. I'm just like, I've been doing it so long, you know, but it's such a part of my DNA that I have to do it once in a while, because then I think, oh yeah, that's what I do. You know,
It's an addiction though, isn't it? Like, it can be a bit of an addiction. Like I know what you mean. Like I'll do parts like for free, like if there's nothing else going on, just because like I like the buzz, you know. It's like it is just a buzz you get when you walk off set, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I'm always so happy to be working.
Yeah.
When I'm working on something, I'm always so happy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't changed. But the steps you have to take to get there today, sometimes I feel lazy. Like, you know, the commitment's not like it used to be. Yeah. And it's a different process too. So what you guys have now is a different way to work. I mean, a lot of it's
a very competitive field, very competitive, very. So, but it's fun. I think to become a famous actress today, I think is almost like harder than winning the lottery, you know. So it's like I'll do the acting wherever it comes along. It doesn't matter if it's a free part or a paying part. But then I focus on the writing, because I know that I can turn that into something, you know, because that's in my control, right? So like, and I enjoy the writing, so I like the dialogue, bringing words to life and bringing characters to life. So, you know, you kind of make the most of what you have control over, right?
Yes.
So that's fun. Yeah. So are you working on anything at the moment?
I'm not the truth. I'm not ready. I auditioned for things and stuff, you know, so, and there's things running all the time, but right now I haven't done anything. And a lot of it had to do also with things came up and it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good idea it wasn't worth chancing it. So in this year has been really weird, you know.
Yeah.
So
for the world.
such a weird time, you know. It's
right. And
then there's always in the room, there's always one person who doesn't think it's real. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody here, but like
a lot of them
family,
yes.
family, it's like, you know, they don't believe it, you know. They're just like, yeah, it's the flu, you know. It's no, it's worse. Yes.
I've had a lot of conspiracies, and I'm like, okay, next subject, you know.
We all have it. All right, we all have people in our family that don't buy it. Okay, great.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I could talk to you about acting for like forever, but a question that I feel a lot of people here who are writers can, because I'm a writer and actor, so I feel like a lot of writers can relate to this. What, as an actor, do you think writers can do to make it more, like make it something that actors want to attach to, or something that actors want to play in, like that?
I have a thought. I mean, this could be, I think that you should, this is a crazy thought, but I don't mean to stalk or anything, but I think you should pick an actor or actress in your mind while you're writing. And I think you should write something that you have to do a little research. So you'd have to find out, you know, what do they always play? They probably want to do something different. You know what I mean? So, but it has to be somebody who has weight, who has status. Because if they don't have status, it's, you know, it's not going to happen. But if you could get that to the people, the actors, not the representation, but to the people, somehow, either find out where they like to buy their, you know, Starbucks. I don't know, you know, just, I swear, I think if you're really on fire to do something like that, I think that's a great idea, because you know they're standing next to somebody at some point in the day that's, you know, a regular person. So why not have it be you? You know what I mean? But you have to really find, and I don't mean to be peculiar about it. You know, you don't want to knock on their door or anything, you know what I mean? But I just think somehow to get your, whatever you think it is that's right for them, or that they might be interested in, get it to them. And say, you know, what a fan you are, you loved specific things that they did. It has to be real, you know, you can't fake it. And then see what happens. You've got nothing to lose. So that's my, if you were my daughter and you know, she said, I want to write, I'd help her do that. I would find out things, you know, and then just go bump into people, say, oh, you know, I'm so sorry. Oh, I just loved you in blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. I don't want to bother you. And then you could meet her again somewhere, or him somewhere, you know, at another place, and say, oh, hello, you know, how are you? And let something build like that. So does that sound too creepy?
Patty, can I follow up on Sarah's question?
Sure.
Is there something inherent in the writing itself that would attract you to a particular script? Like, not just can I get it in your hands, but when you read it, what are you looking for that would really excite you?
Oh, me personally?
Or actresses in general, but yeah, sure.
It's a personal, it's a bell that rings, you know, where you say, I mean, the actors here would know what I'm saying, where you say, oh, I know this one, you know, or I got this one. It's like a hook, you get hooked. And sometimes it's a silly thing, you know, sometimes it's knowing that you find the humor in it, or that you find, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's so it's like a little magic thing where you think, I can do this one. Oh, I want to do this one. And then you have to brace yourself, of course, you know, because it's almost like, and the commitment has to be big, and to getting it, to doing it, and you really dive in. And that's what's hard about today's world, I feel, that you almost have to do the role on every audition. I mean, it's not like you have, you know, you're not in a room working on it. They haven't cast you and you go in and you have a working interview or whatever with the director or whatever. And you know, it's like everything is done. Everything is done. They want end result. They want to see the end result. I feel in film and television. I don't know. You know, when they see you, they want to see it. And a lot of times you may not look like what they want you to look like. And it doesn't mean that your audition sucked. And it doesn't mean that you should never work again and just give it up. It just means whatever it is, you weren't the one. And it could be the one who gets it, where you see the product later, you see that had nothing to do with you. I mean, it's just, so you have to stay positive, but you also have to know that the only power you have is to try to show them what you can bring to it. And if they choose not to use you, you can't let it destroy you. And think that it's only because you really aren't very good or whatever. 9 times out of 10 has nothing to do with that. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe has a question.
Okay. Where are you?
She's right there.
Oh, there you are.
Did you want to say something, Joe?
I wanted to say something earlier, but I think I was on mute and I wasn't sure.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, when you said something about choosing an actor, you know, when you're writing, I also think when you're writing, you should have someone in mind. For example, someone's voice. I remember when I wrote this pilot, and I had the voice of James Spader. It was very, you know, characteristic.
Sure.
He's such a complex actor as well, and he really jumped off the page, the dialogue, because it was so characteristic of that character. And one of the things when people say when it comes to writing is that, you know, the characters have to sound different, and you have to make sure of that.
Yes.
So yeah, when you mentioned that, you know, thinking of an actor, I mean, I'm from Portugal. I could never, you know, stalk someone at Starbucks. But I really felt the same way.
Someplace there.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that, you really struck a chord with me, because it doesn't happen every time, but when it happens,
yeah,
you know,
it's like you channeled the person.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're cooking, you know, where you, and it's hard to, you know, there's no so that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Actually, that's really interesting that comes from you, because the way that the way that I've always thought of it is that to keep your character open so that it's available to play by lots of different people. So the way that you're telling it to be able to play by just a specific actors, etc. I guess that makes more sense in a way.
You know what though? I was talking about the way the world is here, and the way, you know, it matters if you know somebody, if you know, all of that. It helps. It helps. And so I just think very practically. I think, you know, you could. I mean, I don't mean you should. If your creativity takes you to a place where you can't do that, you can't, you know what I mean? You see the people, you create the people. And you know, that's a different story. I was just trying to say how you could possibly rub elbows with somebody and hand a star your script. And that they got to see it and went to their agent, who would 9 times out of 10, if there's not big money attached or there's not whatever, they don't want to bother, you know, because they have what Jeff said earlier, you know, they have bosses, even if they're the boss. So that was just my way around that. I was thinking, you know, my crazy mind, I was thinking, just, you know, don't stalk anybody, but definitely try to run into them, you know. Yeah, that's all. But if it tarnishes your way of working, ignore what I said. Trust me. Okay. Because the whole point is that you enjoy, you know, your work.
Yeah, it's so funny. That I remembered what was it, coming up with screenwriting? What was it, in the 2000s? They said think of like the big up there actor and then like write the script for them so that you can have a character to work off of. And that always hurted my head because I was like, I don't know who's gonna play this until I know. Like, it's gonna be that moment and you see them and you're like, yes, that's the person. Kind of like with what was it, Shonda Rhimes and Patrick Dempsey, or like Ellen Pompeo and Meredith Grey.
Well, that's
like, I didn't even know who Ellen Pompeo was.
She was well, you're speaking like a producer. You're sounding like a producer, because in other words, I know writer producer, but what I was talking about was trying to get somebody's material to be looked at by someone who would probably want to do it, because actors like to work. She's Shonda Rhimes is amazing. You know what I mean? And she did write these people, and then there he came. I read that too, and she thought, oh my God, it was him. I wrote him, but that's just the same story but backwards. You know.
Yeah, because that's what happened when I made my first web series. There was this one girl, and she auditioned for the role, and I was so blown away. I was like, "That's it. She's the one."
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice when that happens, right? She made it come alive. She made it come alive for you.
Yeah, she really took like my writing, which was, I believe, amateurs at the time, but that's because I've grown since then as a writer. She really took it in, like, to the next level as, like, you know, as what you're supposed to do as actors, and like what they tell you was like actors classes and stuff. And I was just so amazed. I was like, oh my God, Cindy Lynn knows who Sunny is. She knows this character in and out. She studied it and everything and really blew it out the water. And it made me feel very, very happy as a writer.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful.
wanted to ask you, how's your process as an actor when you get on set?
No. Okay. Fear. No. I travel with fear. Usually, it depends on what it is, first of all. I can talk about a scary movie I did that had a lot of comedy in it. Okay. And so that process, each job, I got to say, I don't have a good rule book, because each job, I have several ways to do things. And it kicks in whatever works better. I can't explain it. So, if you go from a guest shot on a show, you're not in the company. So you are not part of the family. You're a visitor. You're a guest. You really are a guest. And so your behavior is respectful to the lead, whoever it is. And within all of that, you try to bring something to whatever it is you're doing. I don't know. And it's also, that's television, and it's quick, so, but usually if you book the job, it's because they saw you read it. They saw you do it. So you sort of are, bringing that to the party. But, yeah, but the process, boy, I'm so bad about, I just can be in the story. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I can drop into practically any story. As long as I have the hair is right, they do the hair right, and the clothes are right. That matters a lot to me. How I am, my shoes, but I always have trouble explaining that I just enter. I enter the part. I don't know how to put it.
But I know what you mean. Like, I used to do theater when I was younger.
Okay.
And there was some different actors there. They had their own thing. I remember there was an older actor than me, and I couldn't talk to her because she was in it already before.
She stayed in character.
Yeah.
Oh,
Before
okay.
entering the stage, and my process was basically shaking before entering the stage.
Oh yeah. Well, remember I mentioned about FrostNixon. I mentioned that Frank Langella was Nixon, and he's an actor who's wonderful, but he stayed in character. And that was, bizarre. I hadn't experienced that. And so everybody had to refer to him as Mr. President, even when we were walking, at all times. But I guess he had to stay in it and not lose it. But I didn't do that. And a lot of times I like a little moment to jump it, to focus. I can't go right from laughing into it unless I'm laughing in the scene. Yeah. So that is strange when somebody stays in character.
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable because, different actors have,
different ways.
So yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah. I even when I played things as a little kid, I played a killer, and I didn't, of course I couldn't stay in character. So I learned that, that you don't have to.
Yeah, I think it's more healthy if you don't as well.
I think so, but you shouldn't say that,
Yeah.
Who am I?
Well,
Are we leaving? Are we leaving? What are you doing, Rick? How are you doing, Rick?
Mute. Oops, sorry. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm working on a web series for us.
Okay.
I haven't told Dan yet, but I will.
Okay. I haven't seen anybody. Yeah.
You haven't seen them?
Nah. I haven't seen him in forever. Actually, no. Because I've been staying, like I've been, he's been, how he always has people living at his house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't right now. Does he?
Huh?
Doesn't right now though, does he?
Yeah, I think he does.
Oh, does he?
I don't know. I think he does. I met Pinkerton or whatever.
I don't know.
No? Okay. But anyway, there's always people. He's very good like that.
Yeah.
Very inclusive. He brings people to his house and doesn't charge him anything. People who are up and coming writers and actors but anyway, so with Corona, I've been good.
Yeah. Well, we'll film it afterwards. You're in the second episode anyways.
Yeah, we have to hope the entire world gets inoculated and then we'll be okay until the next thing. Yeah.
But you play his ex-wife and he forgets but he has I don't know if he has Alzheimer's or something else, and his son and his wife live with him.
Okay. And it's the ex-wife. That'll be
the ex-wife. Yeah. No, but he stares at your picture and he stares at your picture like you're dead.
Okay.
And so the son's just like, why don't you just call her?
And then he says, what? Call who?
I haven't in that episode yet. I can't but I'll send it to you.
All right, send it to me. So let us all be safe and get through all this, huh? How is it in Portugal?
Oh, it's bad.
It is bad. See? How about, and where are you in London? You said you've got
close to London. Yeah, I'm right by Gatwick Airport. If you know Gatwick Airport.
Not well, but I know of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not been fun for us. My day job is as a librarian at a primary school, and I still have to go in, but I'm literally serving one child a day. So
yeah.
So it's not a lot of fun at the moment.
And the other flu coming out of wherever, we've got it now. So I mean, it's crazy. It's a crazy, wild time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think in Portugal the main problem was because our prime minister didn't decide to lock down during New Year's Eve, and I thought to myself, that's going to be really bad if they do that. And they decide to do it, and then decide people to hang out until 11 p.m. And now it's just chaos. Like, there are a lot of people actually traveling to Belgium and Austria because there's just not enough space in hospitals anymore.
How terrible.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Let's hope, that things will get better now we are in lockdown again.
Yeah.
And that will do it.
It's like yeah.
But I think in America things will get better now with Biden.
We're so glad to have Biden. I mean,
yeah,
most of us. Well,
the same people. I think the same people are quite glad to have Biden. Sorry, if any of you are insane. Sorry.
Say it. I didn't hear it. Say it.
And you got your shot.
Right. Oh yes, I got shot number 1.
Yeah.
Oh yay! Congrats.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can get my shot, but because I'm currently in Iowa, because I was like, LA is too dangerous. So I'll just stay in Iowa and just chill there. And then once LA cools down, I'll just go back.
What part of Iowa? What part?
Northeastern Iowa. So like Waterloo and, like the snowy background. There's a blizzard.
Not Muscatine, not near Muscatine. Do you know Muscatine?
I do know Muscatine. That's on the east side. So that is actually near where I am. I'm from Waterloo.
Okay.
Wait, how far away is Muscatine?
It's down by the river, by the Mississippi, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm not far from the Mississippi.
Okay.
Yep, it's 2 hours away.
Isn't that funny? No, I have a good, a writer lives in Muscatine and stayed in Muscatine throughout his career. And he had a good writing career, wrote books, wrote all kinds of stuff, and even wrote a film that Tom Hanks was in. But anyway, and so that's how I know Muscatine.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's great. It was a button factory place. Like,
oh yeah, the button factory.
That's what made him put him on the map.
Yeah, I knew about it from football. I would do football, and we would travel out to Muscatine to battle them. They come and compete with us. So
yeah,
but no, like it's nice to hear that happened with a writer from Iowa, because I wanted to do that as a child, but I kind of did the math and I was like, okay, I technically cannot do it in the 21st century. So now I moved out to LA, and then I came back out here and I was like, oh, so much stuff happened to me while I'm in Iowa, so I'll just stay in Iowa. And then
so now you can't travel, right? Or you like
well, I like being here most of the time, but I also know that because of Midwestern passivity, like it's very, like because Iowa's, known as like the nicest state in the United States of America because it's very passive. It can also make you lose kind of like your creative drive, especially off of what they want for screenwriting nowadays. They want social justice, trauma porn, all of that stuff. And I'm still not going to really write that because I just want to laugh and have a good time. But at the same time, if I'm trying to write something that would be captivating for the American audience while living in a place that's almost as passive as Japan, it'd be kind of hard. So I got to put myself back out in LA. So kind of have that overwhelming sense of, I could lose it all in any minute, and it'll push me more to work and push me more to, write and drive. Like I have more of a drive while I'm in LA because it'll be mostly based off of survival. While in Iowa, I'm very comfortable, and if I don't get it, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But well, go like.
Yeah, no, like it's a very positive thing. I mean, I like LA. I think it's fine. I've been out there for like 4 years. I haven't died, so I think that's a huge plus. That's a very big plus.
Yeah.
Driving back on Monday. Not this Monday, a week from Monday.
What?
Back to LA.
Yeah. Where are you now?
Me?
You're out there, right? Yeah.
Denver.
What?
Denver.
You are? Oh, I didn't know you were in Denver. Okay.
I thought I've been in LA this whole time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I've been gone.
Okay.
Well, I haven't seen you since this virus.
Forever. I know. It's about this time of year. It was around Valentine's.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Last Valentine's.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you.
A year.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you texted me. I don't know what was that? What was that Zoom you were talking about? Did Dan tell you something?
Huh?
What Zoom were you talking about? You said I can't wait to be a spectator on your next Zoom.
I'm confused.
That was the text I got from you.
Can't wait.
Yeah, you said.
You said, oh, I know what I said. I said, are you going to do
You said I'm planning on sitting on a Zoom meeting on February 1st.
And I didn't do it. I didn't sit in. I was just going to sit in and listen to the reading, but I just didn't because it wasn't a good day.
I didn't have one though.
Huh?
I never had one for the February 1st.
No, but I thought you were in the vets group, the US, you know?
Oh, the vets group thing.
And I get that, I get from Tim, I get the emails.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
So
confused.
I thought perhaps you were reading something or whatever.
Oh,
but
no. No, I
so
haven't-
then you said not that, but I'm doing the 5th. And I said, oh, okay. You know, is that all right?
No, I was confused. I thought Dan told you I was having a reading or something.
No, you told me. Oh, no.
For the vet thing.
No,
I didn't realize it
we
was
didn't talk about that stuff at all.
Oh.
So I get the emails from Tim.
Okay. All right. Now it makes sense.
Just because now it makes sense. Yeah. And also, did you send me a text today by mistake?
I don't think so.
You sent me something that said, and I thought, this is something I would do. You know what I mean? Like if you're talking to somebody and then something else comes up and you think you're sending it to I think I got the one that said you were waiting, you hadn't eaten yet, but you were waiting and you were working on your script. You had ordered. You want me to read it?
Wait, okay, so I don't know if this was answered earlier, but
okay,
Rick, Patty, how do y'all know each other?
How do we know it? Oh, from Dan Lauria.
Dan Lauria.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Actor Dan Lauria. Yeah.
Yeah. And
because he likes showing her off. He's like every time he's around, he's like he has to bring up the bad seed and he has to bring up.
He does. He gives my credits. But
he does that to everybody.
He does that to everybody. He's. I'm telling you, he's like the Pied Piper or something. You know what I mean? He's. You know.
I was thinking we should do like a Hollywood stories with him once a month.
What's you mean telling Hollywood stories?
Yeah, that would be fun because he likes doing it anyways.
You should talk to him about it. I don't have any.
Neither do I.
None that I'm going to share.
None that are
and that's it.
Hey.
Oh, I wanted to ask.
What?
How was it like to work on Sopranos?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it very much. You know what's funny is, yeah, it was just great fun. That was a real, fun character I was born in Brooklyn, New York, so it wasn't a stretch. And even though my name is McCormick, my birth name was Russo, Russo. And you can see now in the COVID, the reality, so it was fun to be able to play that, to play that New Jersey person, tacky clothes and, looking a little too jazzy in the first part. And then as my little character was sprinkled through a few episodes, she had a bad end, the mother had a bad end. So
I didn't know you were on The Sopranos.
Yeah, I was actually on, I think it was a total of 5 episodes, but I'm telling you, just how The Sopranos have those short little scenarios. There are people I look on Instagram, and they have a Sopranos site. I think it's Instagram or it's Twitter. I don't know, one or the other. And I see actors that were on it. I didn't notice them or remember them, and they're intricate storylines and very funny. But I loved working with Edie Falco. Was quite amazing, and of course, yeah, anyway, it was great.
Well, I'm still sad I can't find the ropers anywhere.
You know what's funny is do you have a DVR that you tape things or no?
I do for temporarily until I go back to California.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that I might have tapes or something. I might have some tapes that my nephew sent me that, group tapes.
I have a VCR. I bought it for like $10 last year.
What?
So I bought a VCR last year or the year before, so I could watch the Star Wars unmessed with.
Okay, so you have that.
So I do have a VCR.
Okay, so did you get a Blu-ray or a regular one?
I think it's both. It has a DVD player and a tape player, VCR player. So
Okay, so you don't have a Blu-ray because I don't think they come both, do they?
I have a Blu-ray player too.
Oh, you do? I don't know what the tapes are, but maybe they're just regular.
Oh, you mean
If you
VCR
have a
tape?
Blu-ray, you can play Blu-ray and regular. But if you have a Blu-ray tape, you can't do it in the regular.
Oh, you're talking about DVD?
Oh, I'm talking about DVDs. Oh, VCRs. I don't know. No.
Yeah, VHS.
Okay.
Oh, you did.
VHS. What a time.
So your nephew put them on DVD for you?
Huh?
So your nephew put them on DVD for you?
I think they were put out, like there was some seasons put out, I think. I have to look. It could just be a part of the Three's Company. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'll look.
Well, because I watched the pilot and then I watched another episode because I wanted to.
They were funny. They were silly. I mean, at the time they were like, we laughed all week.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to do a sitcom with an audience.
I think if I went back acting, I think I'd rather do a sitcom. I think I'd rather make people laugh.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I know. And it's, I don't know. It was just, we got to rehearse all week. And then we did and then it was tape day, it was blocking day where there were 3 cameras. And then the shoot day, which was with the audience. And I think they taped the dress and the show and then took whatever from both. But it was live tape. It was what they called live tape.
Well, your husband in the show, I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I don't know if is he still alive?
Yeah, he ran into that Me Too thing.
Uh-oh.
And
so on the bad side of it, I mean?
He's a wonderful actor. I didn't know him to have, it was hard to believe that this occurred, but so it didn't fit with the guy I know, you know what I mean? But I guess it doesn't always, does it?
That was also in the 70s, wasn't it? That show was also in the 70s.
Say it again?
Yeah, that show was also in the 70s.
Yeah, but he had a full out career after that. I mean, really.
But I mean, when you knew him.
Yeah, that's true. It was 80.
Oh, okay.
79, yes, 79, 80. That was our, but he was on Transparent? Yes, he was the lead on Transparent. He was the man who was.
Oh, was he?
Yes, and they were on for a lot of seasons.
Yeah.
Awards. You know who I mean?
I didn't know that was the same guy.
Yeah.
That was Jeffrey. That is Jeffrey Tambor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the same guy.
Somebody, said he had been inappropriate with her, and I'm sure it was true. But you just think, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, everybody was on fire with the Me Too at that point. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't, if you I remember Biden touched somebody, gave somebody a little hug, and they were like, whoa, don't. So everybody was afraid to touch anybody, but
that's very much true. Because with my generation and the generation that came after mine, we kind of look back on American American culture, and we're like, why y'all do that? And then for a second, I was like, yeah, why they do that? And I was like, wait, hold on. If we actually think of history and sociology, like, you know, if we read a book, we can figure out why that was the way it was.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so much has happened, but at the same time, you know, what's happened in the past isn't that far long ago. So then when people look things up on people, when, you know, we find out about a new person or a new political person or like a new musician or a poppin' director, poppin' actor, actress, whatever, and we look to their past, like, okay, what did they do wrong? You know, are they cool with me? Do they accept me as a human being? Can I actually like them? We find out some things that they did in the past before we were even born, and we're like, why?
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely is, you know, some Clash of the Clans.
That's a whole conversation. Like, how long, you know, how long do you hold somebody guilty? You know what I mean? If they come out and say, oh, I was a jerk, you know, I had no idea, I was just ignorant, you know, do you forgive them? You know, that's a can you know, I'm sure all of us have done stupid things, you know, and you wished you hadn't, you know, but and you hope there's forgiveness there, but you know, there's, of course, there's the there are different crimes, you know what I mean? There are
different crimes, different levels. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's definitely like, it's crazy how something small that started on Tumblr has blown up to be a very big thing that has made most people in westernized society go, what can and can't I do?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just really fascinating. A very small thing that started on the Tumblr site, a site that everyone did not think was a big deal, now makes a lot of people, even people who are about to hit the age of 100, think twice before doing certain things. You know, that's powerful.
Isn't that a good thing, though? You know,
that is, yeah.
Until now, you know, people there wouldn't be no consequences. You know, women would get hurt and they wouldn't be able to speak up. You know, and
that's how humanity. That's how humans grow. You know.
Yeah.
Live in
I feel like that was the biggest thing that was missed.
That's an old New York, you know. You live and you learn. Hopefully. Hopefully.
I like that phrase better than it is what it is.
Yeah.
I like that much better than it is what it is.
Yeah. That's like, all right. No, I hate that when I hear that, you know, I hear that. It is what it is. You think, okay, fine. You know, I'm stuck.
Yeah, like if it started raining acid, do you just say it is what it is, or do you start screaming because it's raining acid? Like, come on, people. But you know, I love you live and you learn, because it's such a better phrase, and that is pretty much a part of the human experience, is living and learning from anything that you do. You know, like the trial and error of making friends, the trial and error of like networking, the trial and error of writing, the trial and error of like acting and auditioning and stuff. It's all trial and error. You live and you learn.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one for you. You know, you guys will be talking about this Me Too thing and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So here's one. I work in a school, and one of the things that we were recently told is to not address the children as boys and girls, because usually when you say boys and girls, you say boys first, and therefore that gives some sort of, you know, superiority for the boys that are first. But then at the same time, how do you answer this one where you're in some sort of formal place, and then the guy on stage, or the guy on the microphone, or the woman on the microphone, whatever, they say, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know, what are you supposed to do in that kind of sense? Because in that sense, it puts the ladies above the gentlemen, right?
Well,
very, but
I mean, there's a lot of alternatives that you could use. I remember in school, they would always use alternatives. I never really heard boys and girls. I heard everyone, y'all, and folks. And I would hear ladies and gentlemen, but that was when I went to college. And then I heard boys and girls, and that's when I moved out to LA and started working in the social service system. Yeah, it really showed me how a lot of people who grew up in LA are taught how to be, taught how to think about the world.
But then what I found disturbing to an extent was that I have recently heard a 7-year-old little girl say, and this is just me overhearing a conversation that she was having with her friends, and she said, "I don't know if I want to be a girl yet." And I was like, why do you have that on your plate at 7 years old? You are a girl, just be a girl,
Oh, well, that's actually been a conversation before she was 7. Actually, before she was even alive. Because my friends had the same thought process. I remember we were chilling, playing tetherball. There was this one boy, and what was it? We were playing Pokemon cards or something. And he was like, I'm not feeling that. We were like, what do you mean? And he was like, oh, I want to go play with dolls. Okay, go play with dolls. And he and we'd be hanging out. I had my Lisa Frank backpack, and I just had it because it was colorful. He was playing with dolls, and we rolled with it.
Yeah, but that's all cool to play and stuff. I mean, this girl actually said, I don't know if I want to be a girl yet. And I'm just like, come on. You're a kid. Just be a kid. Enjoy being a kid. Why do you have to have that decision on your plate? You don't even know your ABCs yet,
There it is. Just be a kid. I think that's the biggest thing that we should tell the kids. Just be a kid. Because I think the biggest reason why she probably thought of it because there was probably a lot of pressure for her to be a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw in my 2 cents. But I think that, if somebody, people don't, I'm trying to say this as like politically correct without angering anyone as possible, but like,
you won't anger us.
You are who you are, and it's like if you don't agree with who you were physically born as, but if you connect more with who you are, that's who you are. And if you feel that there was something that went wrong physically with, and you don't connect, and that's not who you are, and you are
trapped in the wrong body.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's who you are, and if you want to correct that, then when right the wrongs that occurred, then you should. And I just think that's something that's and that's someone with any age. I have friends.
Yeah, see, that's cool and everything, but shouldn't you be at least an adult to make that decision?
Sounds like she was copying something she heard home, or she heard that conversation like, I don't know if she's a girl or a boy, and then maybe she took that on and said, yeah, I don't know who.
Yeah. But that's the thing with conversation. Like it opens up thoughts and stuff that you would have that, you'd have to realize when you're an adult. Like I remembered, what was it? One of my family members didn't know that they were a homosexual until they went to college and they told her what a homosexual is. And she was like, oh my God, yeah, that's me. So it's like to have the conversation going, to bring in the education. If a child is thinking in that way at the age of 7, then for me personally, I see it as a good thing because then they have the education and the resources and the privilege to even think about other options than just girl and boy, which is great because gender is a social construct and it doesn't effing matter. But that's I'm a sociologist, so please don't get mad at me. I'm a sociologist. I got my degree in sociology.
I understand different perspectives and points of view. Yeah. For a kid of that age, I would just hope that they're talking about cartoons rather than talking about what they want to be,
Well, I hope so too. I mean, like, I always hope that kids are watching cartoons in the United States. Most of them just watch internet videos of people cussing.
Yeah, and it's all about TikTok and cussing. Yeah, cussing as well. One of my friends, he recently had his daughter swear at him and all these kind of things, and he's blaming TikTok for it. And I'm just like, okay, so take her off TikTok and put a book in her hands,
Just take off the TikTok. If someone cusses at me and I think they got it from a certain place, I'm taking it away. Alone. Bing, bang, boom. And you have parental lock and stuff. If you use their technology, your kid won't be exposed to it. But some people don't do all that.
So much more being a parent now. I mean, I'm so glad that's in the past. And it's so many things to think about and embrace, and it's all in the future for all of you, and wow.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys a story. My partner, she's got her own kids, and I'm just her partner, but she's got a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old, and a 15-year-old gives her a hard time on a daily basis, gives her a hard time. And I just remind her every day, when she complains about it to me, I remind her, you're not the only one. Every teenager gives their parent a hard time.
Mostly. But then there are those, I have to say, some of those mothers and daughters that are just, perfectly matched or something. I don't know. But I know my daughter and I were like, and even today you have to watch a little bit, because you just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But
yeah, see, my sister and my mother, they have a fractious relationship. Like, they can clash over the smallest, silliest thing. And I remind my sister that mom is just, she is who she is. She's not going to change. So like, when she goes shopping and she buys too much, for example, my sister will complain about that, but I'm just like, just leave her. There's no point fighting it. It is what it is, unfortunately.
Oh my God, that's nothing. Like, me and my mom, like, I'm having dinner and I have a glass of water and I don't finish my glass of water. My mother is like, Joanna, you haven't finished your glass of water. I drink it. There are children in Africa like fighting for water. And she gets so pissed, like the end of the world. Yeah. So.
Yeah, see, now those are perfect. It is what it is moments.
Yeah, exactly. My mother, my mother flips a lid at me. If I don't have dinner, she'll think there's something wrong. She'll say, what's going on? Have you had a fight with your girlfriend? Is there something wrong at work? What's going on? I was like, I'm just not hungry.
You got to put all this stuff that's real stuff like this into your work.
Yeah.
Because everybody will get it. It's called universal appeal or whatever.
Yeah, and relating to it all. Yeah.
That's the stuff that people ring a bell for people.
Yeah, and I honestly, okay, I really hope this is a hope for me, that like more people who want to be screenwriters will like be able to embark more on like the community that they have. Either it be the family that they grew up with, or the chosen family, or the friends and stuff that they have in their town and stuff. There's so much story there. And even though we don't really talk about it, especially in like the United States, about what type of stories we want, they really want family stories. They want them community stories, because that means it's a whole world there that you're going to introduce them to. And you have this world, this lived experience that nobody knows about, that you can literally put on the page and then put it on screen. That right there, it's so good. It's great.
Open now. The door is wide open for that. So that's why, it's nice.
Yeah. And I really think, well, don't tell nobody if you're gonna write them and you want to be ahead of the game, but just sociologically speaking, just off of like the mapping that I've done with American pop culture,